no more. I am.
There's no sound, but we could just watch. We could just watch the wonderful, talented ladies on the screen for a minute. Let's just see. Oh man, you see, these are hardworking girls.
This is peak problem solving right here.
Listen, here's the thing. Like, gentlemen, you want a woman willing to work. All right, like you don't want a chick who just doesn't. But the thing is, you also don't want like one that's like the smartest chick in the world. This look at that, like this is marriage material.
So what you want instead of work smarter, not harder, is you want a woman that works harder, not smarter.
Yes, you just.
How would that guy have been able to walk in there and save them all if they had known what to do?
That's it. Look, he looks like a knight in shining.
He white knighted his way through that one.
So, all right, listen, we have not had Mark and Jason on in a while. Now, we didn't put their podcast name in the show title because tonight we are going to come up with a new show title for them.
Look at this, guys.
So we actually,
Ryan, welcome back, my brother.
Yeah, so it's been a while since Mark and Jason have been on. So for anybody that doesn't know, they do have a podcast. We'll get into all that as we go. In the meantime, I'm exhausted. My eyes are very, very swollen right now from not sleeping. If you guys hit like, subscribe, the whole nonsense that everybody does, I'm terrible at the grift, and I'm not smart enough to do it tonight. So
we are going to play the Spiritus video at some point.
Why don't we do it now? Just because I'll
just
forget.
Get it out of the way?
Let's just do it. Let's go with the Spiritus video.
Okay, here's the obligatory Spiritus grift.
Are you tired of searching YouTube for something that won't make you run to confession? Let's talk about the Catholic video alternative platform, Spiritus TV. Spiritus TV is the only video platform that is guided by Catholic morality. That means you will not have to worry about the influences of modernity on you and your family. In a time where YouTube is promoting whatever flavor of the month degeneracy, and all these supposed alternatives are the same thing with a different coat of paint, Spiritus TV is here for you, your family, and the faith. Check us out at spiritustv.com. That is spiritustv.com.
Yeah, we want to see Spiritus grow, but what the thing is, Rob and I were even talking about like to have that as your main platform kind of puts us in a like we want to be able to reach non-Catholics, so we got to get Spiritus to not just be for Catholics, I guess, right? Like maybe they should allow other content on there.
Why?
I don't know about that.
Yeah, maybe not. I guess you keep. Well, the thing is, like, if you're on YouTube or if you're on Rumble, like the chances of somebody stumbling across a video of yours because you speak about a cultural issue, like Rob and I'll do. I mean, even today, the title of the video is "Priests Stop a Pride Event." You know, so you never know if just like a random person will click on that and then something strikes their heart and that leads to, like, we've gotten comments of people saying like, you and Rob led to me going back to confession.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like to have people just Catholics be on a platform. It's almost like you're keeping you're taking that out of play, I would think. You know,
Jason, we got a comment once saying that because of your show, I need to go to confession now. Remember just getting that comment?
That was
kind of the same. It's similar.
We went, oh yeah.
You have a way with old
I
women.
hate you guys. I hate you guys so much. I hate my friends. Guys, can we? Okay, there's something I got to talk about because I know you guys have got your thing you want to talk about.
That got like real fabulous, like real quick, Mark.
It's going to get real fabulous here. Guys,
Spirit fingers.
We have got a new prefect for the Sacred Congregation of the Doctrine of the Faith.
Oh,
now,
boy.
The nicest way I know how to say this is, Holy Father, you're starting to scare the children now, okay? This guy looks like Hannibal Lecter. I know that I
actually does.
I understand that everybody in the Curia has to be a functioning sociopath. I understand that. But can we get people that don't look the part too? Where did they find this guy? Who moved the rock? I got it. What was did he get his recruiter in and be like, okay, fine, I'm not even looking at resumes unless he looks like a cross between Hannibal Lecter and a Bond villain. Go find him. Where did they find these people?
I love how we're just covering Mark's face.
Oh, that's okay. I'm not the star of this show. But look at that.
Vlad
What
the
the hell
Impaler. Guys, wait, real quick. We are
hilarious.
going to be heavily relying on listener feedback tonight because I'm very tired and I'm going to expect Mark and Jason to carry a lot of the weight tonight. Like normally,
I like how he
normally
knows not
I'm
to even
like-
say me.
I didn't mean it that way, Rob.
Like last show. Yeah, the
I'm not
three of
even
us
kidding.
love sacred scripture. I'm like, I'm here too.
I called Rob the other day and I'm like, dude, I feel so bad about something. I'm like, I didn't mean to imply that you don't like sacred because we were on with Michael Hitchborn and Joshua Charles. And at one point, Rob was just like in the, he was like mainly producing that night, like posting comments up, pulling up scripture when we were talking about scripture. So the three of us were riffing a lot more than usual, that, you know, a lot more than Rob was really audibly involved.
Yep.
So I made a comment. I was like, guys, if you notice, the three of us know our scripture really well. And Rob was just like, really? I call it like, dude, I didn't mean to imply anything with that. I'm so sorry. And of course, Margot has to put it in the comments to really rub it in.
That's right.
Yeah.
Mark, the new point you will look
when he
more
moves his braces.
when he moves his braces. So, but
Yeah,
even tonight,
but I
Rob, I'm
mean-
noticing as soon as you
I mean-
came on, like you're talkative tonight.
Well,
Yeah, well, he's happy to see us.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I haven't been on in
But-
a while. I
well,
had a
here's the
co-host,
thing,
but I
so-
never see him anymore.
Some people get nervous because you guys have blown up since we've last been on. So Mark must be a little bit nervous in his talking.
Little starstruck.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. That's true. It's easy to get that way.
You have to watch because Rob will change your name midstream and you'll have no idea.
I can't do that anymore.
Why not?
That option's gone.
Really?
Yeah, I tried it the other night on you, but it wouldn't let me.
It's such a
Rob, it's been a while since I've seen you. That beard is looking strong, sir. That's
I
a
know it is.
grown ass man's.
I mean,
beard right
it's not
there.
up to Enoch levels yet, but
Yeah, no, that's looking good, man.
Rob, the
Thank you.
studio looks good too.
Yeah.
Anthony, I can see you shaved just a few hours ago. I can tell you.
did.
I can see
Like,
that.
no,
Um,
like 36 minutes ago.
yeah, what was I saying? That's a half day's growth for
Yeah.
my
What
man
is it,
Tony.
an
over there.
Italian.
It's like
And,
a 5 o'clock shadow.
I like how Greg has to note that this comment from him is actually serious.
I want to see what videos we have in line for tonight. Oh, so we have. You guys want to talk for a minute, or do you want to?
Did you know that Mark? So Mark is in the middle of a move right now, right? And you were talking about our show and everything. Mark is getting ready to full blown set us up a studio so we can do our shows in person together.
Yeah, I have studio space, and I
How
figured
far are
out
you
how
guys live apart?
well.
Right now, go ahead, Mark.
Well, as I say, right now we're about half an hour apart by the freeway, but we'll be like 7 minutes from each other's houses, and it's all just surface roads.
You're
Jason-
optimistic
Jason
with 7
disagrees.
minutes. Well, because
No,
there
you
were
guys drive
houses-
fast. You guys drive fast out in Cyprus.
There
gotta
was
come down-
houses. There was houses a lot closer to me, and you refused to move close. I know my kids are loud. I know all the other neighbors hate us because of how loud they are during the day. But
Yeah, that's why they hate you.
That's crazy. That's crazy though, because like my dream is to have an in-person studio with Rob. Like that's like, one day I want us to live close enough that we could do it. Like it changes the whole dynamic.
And
agree.
has said his dream is to live next to me, and I.
Sounded like he wants to share the same space. I mean,
Yeah,
it sounded like a next door
I
type
would be roomies,
situation.
bud. Well, listen, we have so Thursday night. I have so
the
all right,
Senate
so
is
our
getting
first,
to Anthony.
our first video.
He's been listening to the spirit.
Our first video to hit 10,000 views is our Father Isaac video. So I called him yesterday just to like say thank you and like, you know, see if we can come back on. He goes, well, I come into New York on Sunday. And I'm like, how long are you here for? He's like, a week. So he's coming to my house Thursday for dinner. And then we're going to do an
Are you
in-person
cooking?
live. My wife's going to cook.
Okay.
She's going to make
You guys remember that 27-pound prime rib on fire for Christmas? No, Anthony's not cooking.
That wasn't me.
Well,
actually.
do you remember in Steubenville he kept bragging he was going to make us French toast, whatever it was.
Yeah.
I was going
What-
to
what-
make you guys pound cake French toast.
Yep. He did
Pound
cook
cake
for
for
us,
toast.
Jason.
Oh, that's
He ordered us
good.
$125 of Taco Bell.
He did do that. That was a soldier. And in that moment, that Taco Bell hit.
and Mark froze the bacon, and we couldn't eat the
No,
bacon.
No, Jason froze the bacon.
Mark.
Oh,
It was Mark.
we go looking for the bacon, and we're like, we bought this bacon yesterday. Where is it? And it's in the freezer. And I was like, who the F did that? And we found out Jason did it. And I was like, look, Jason, I don't know how they do things over in the Episcopal Church of whatever you came from, but around here we don't throw bacon in the freezer here. Okay.
So, dude, all right. So let's explain something to everybody. So, like, okay, Mark and Jason live down in Texas. Rob lives in Minnesota. I'm in New York. How do we all know each other, right? It's like, it's so strange. Like this, all of us know each other from trivia.
I literally remember exactly how me and you first interacted.
It was on Twitter.
It's so special in my heart. You had
Anthony said something provocative, I'm sure.
No, it all started over women's driving. Anthony said something about letting women drive, and I said, dude, I take naps while my wife is driving.
No, one of the funniest jokes ever on trivia was we were talking about Catholic burials, and Jason asked, he goes, Anthony, if you die in a car accident while your wife's driving, do you get a Catholic burial? And I said, no, because that's a suicide. Like, it was the greatest. He laid it up so perfectly for me. It was just one of the best jokes ever. So yeah,
I think it's dangerous for us to mention trivia, guys.
I know everybody gets really upset.
But yeah, no, but yeah, I mean that's how we initially met, and then you invited me onto trivia, and the rest is history.
that was so. Jason came on trivia first, and then he was like, "Hey, I do a podcast with a friend. Do you mind if I invite him on?" I was like, "Bro, the more the merrier." So we all met through trivia, and then it was like me and Rob had like 200 subscribers back then. You guys had like 100 back then. It was like literally we were just starting, and we had this like group meeting, and we were like, "All right, we're going to start like we want to do a lot of crossover shows and just help promote each other and stuff like that." Now, in the last like 2 months, Rob and I have blown up a lot. I'm not blown up. I mean, 3,500 is still not much,
Well,
but
compared to what in a short amount of time, yeah.
in a short amount of time,
yeah.
Do you guys see that they're actually playing trivia in the chat?
they're actually playing trivia. In the
Look, Darren is playing trivia in the chat.
That's clever. I love it.
So it was a short amount of time because we had a lot of very big guests. Like we were very fortunate. I went on that conference. So like I was on other people's channels. I did a LifeSite News interview. There was a lot of reasons why the channel blew up pretty quick.
Yeah, but you guys have put in the work too. Like you guys stream regularly and all that. And right now, me and Mark are kind of inconsistent. I know for me, the summer's been super busy, so it's kind of I haven't quite made time myself. I know Mark's had stuff, but y'all put in the work is what I'm getting at. Like,
was the last show you guys did the Sean Patrick Flannery interview?
No, the last show we did was
we did
on,
a few after that.
After the Jonathan the Father Jonathan Jackson.
That's
That's
right. Yeah,
that's a good one.
That one.
It's tough for both of us to find schedules, but like I've told Jason a million times, if it comes down to a choice of doing the show or doing something for your kids or your wife, like that's your kids and your wife ought to win every time. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, what is the point of what we're doing here? So, this is a hobby it's a hobby for me. And I know it's a hobby for Jason too. And I'd like it to be a more consistent hobby. I do have in the new house that I'm moving into at the end of the month. We have some studio space. We're going to put in a nice round table. I'm going to try to put in at least 3 mics, camera it up. It's going to be good to go.
I think you guys got to commit to once a week.
Like, what Rob and I do the best we can, but I mean, yeah.
What Rob and I do is hard. We do twice a week, consistently every Tuesday and Thursday. That's hard, and then we throw in a third show sometimes, right? But I think both of us, I think both of us see this as more than a hobby. Like it's not just a hobby, but I think if you guys commit,
it had better be more, or my wife is gonna kill me.
Yeah, mine too. Like it's been. So, and speaking of which, guys, please go to our locals. Please subscribe to our locals. We're going to be doing some.
Yeah, notice how he didn't schedule a stream for his anniversary.
Well, it was on a Monday. It wasn't on a Tuesday. I got lucky. No, but if you guys go to our locals tomorrow night, we're going to be doing something on locals. I have a very insane story to tell that I cannot tell on YouTube. So I have to even be vague about the details, but I definitely cannot tell it on YouTube. So if you guys want to hear that story, go subscribe to our locals and you will hear it. But I think if you guys committed to once a week, even if it's like, all right, look, my kids don't have anything on Monday nights. Monday night from 6 to 7, you guys do something. Even if it's not live and you bank a few episodes, if you got a night where you can put 2 or 3 episodes in and then you got 3 weeks of episodes, just the consistency, I think, is so important to it.
It is, and now that I think I'm moving into a little bit better of a space. I hope consistency will improve. One of the things that we're going to do, and this is gonna make a lot of you in the chat maybe a little sad. Neither me nor Jason have ever really liked the name Tradmen. So here's how the name came about. I used to like the show Mad Men. I know it's not a very
stop because the way you thought of the name is genius. Like when I found this out, I was like, oh, that's why you did it. But go ahead, tell your story.
Because of our original logo, yeah.
Yeah, it was going to be Tradmen, like Mad Men, but we were going to be the Tradmen. But neither one of us ever really but we're not very creative people, okay? Like neither me or Jason are extremely creative. You can tell by the artwork that we do and the whatever. We like to podcast, but we don't know how to brand or anything like that. We are racking our heads coming up with a new name for our podcast. So I'm going to tell you guys right now.
Transitioning.
We're transitioning. We're transitioning. The name Tradmen is on the way out. Okay, but don't get discouraged because that means we're going to replace it with something.
Let's talk about why you want to change the name Tradmen, because the name, like the Trad moniker, has pulled some negative connotations to it, right?
Yeah, that's not really why I want to change it though, because honestly, if we're going to change the name of the podcast every time a word the left takes on a negative connotation to something that we identify ourselves as, we're going to be changing the name of the podcast every week. The real reason is I don't think it really captures what we do on our show. When I started the show, I wanted to talk. Traditionis Custodes had just come out, and I wanted to promote the Latin Mass. But as the show has taken on more and more of a life of its own, we talk about so many more things. And some of them don't have really much to do with liturgy per se, although I still am a big fan of. I don't even call it the traditional Latin Mass. I call it the Roman Rite. That's what it is. It is the Roman Rite. It was defined as the Roman Rite in 1570. That's the Roman Rite, and everything else that pretends to be the Roman Rite is a pretender to the Roman Rite. I'm sorry to say it. That's the way I feel. Maybe you don't feel the same way. I will perfectly happily call it the Missal of Paul VI, the Novus Ordo Missa, whatever. But whatever it is, it does not contain enough, in my opinion, necessary elements to continue to call it a continuation of the Roman Rite, but whatever. That being said, I don't dislike all of the other valid and liturgically enriching rites of the church. I like the Ordinariate. I like the Melkite Rite. I like the Byzantine Rite. So it's not like
we actually visit those rites pretty regularly.
So we're not just like traditional Latin Mass podcast anymore. And I just feel like whatever it is we are should reflect that, and that was essentially my reason.
Michael,
yeah,
I'm kind of
Michael, when you inevitably cut this, make sure you just zoom in on Mark and leave the rest of us out of it.
Why? Am I talking too much? I'm sorry.
No.
And I'm kind of in the same boat. I'm kind of in the same boat as Mark. My biggest thing is even from the beginning, I kind of felt it painted us in a corner, right? Now, I guess I didn't concern myself too much with it in the beginning because I didn't even envision that we would get as many subscribers as we did. I figured we would just be, as a hobby, yelling in the internet, as Mark says. But I don't like the idea of being painted in a corner. And another aspect to it is yes, compared to society, I have more traditional values. You know, I do attend mainly the traditional Latin Mass, right? Do all those things. So it kind of fit. But I know you did an episode one time, Anthony, talking about Catholic speakers and you had like rank at the top Trad. And it's like very few people identify in that category. It's a very small group. And I felt like I don't want to put myself in this niche group. It's not that I dislike tradition or the traditional liturgy or traditional way of living. It's just now it seems like people, when they think of trad, they think of that little niche market that's half crazy sometimes, right? And I don't necessarily want to be painted in that corner.
Yeah.
I agree. So people are asking what's the new name.
How about this, guys?
Sorry. All right, well, you can pop that back up, Rob. I'm sorry. So last night, the four of us are in a group chat, and we were trying to come up with a new name.
And we can't say half of them on camera.
We can't say half of them on YouTube. We can say them on locals, which we will later.
I don't know
but
that you should say them anywhere.
Yeah,
listen. This one made me laugh so hard.
No.
Oh,
Because
no.
Jason said, "How about behold the man?" And Rob wrote "Ecce homo," and I said, "Yeah, but leave out the Ecce."
I said that knowing someone.
That's
would
how the
say
chat
something
went
similar.
for hours.
The whole chat.
I mean,
The whole chat was just, and then eventually we were like, all right, well, how about we just do like modernist queers or something? Like, it just became that. Like, this chat, I don't think I've ever laughed so hard in my life.
Mark had the perfect title. Mark had the perfect
the
name.
official podcast of the Roman Catholic Church.
Yeah, how much trouble you would get in.
and at the beginning, I would raise up my, and that means that everything our podcast says is infallible. I mean, that technically, carries that over. So anyway,
Yeah, listen. So
we're verging.
This is-
I know I'm verging.
nobody. Listen, we have no issue with the crazy trad thing. It's that you put yourself in a corner where, like, it's
There will be
almost
lots
like
of people that will never click on your show because
they'll
of it.
never, because they'll just they'll just assume, oh, these are the crazy trads. So it's not
And,
about.
And I'll put it like this. In the beginning of our show, we had zero issue getting guests. Like, everybody would come on.
You even
pretty
had
easy.
Lofton on a show called Tradmen.
We did.
We had him, and we talked about Limbo on the book he had written, Limbo of the Infants. But but lately it seems like with everything that's going on, some priests and everything, I don't know if Mark agrees, but I feel like
disagree.
they're more hesitant to come on.
They're more hesitant, and we can't get priests to come on our show.
You won't get
that
priests
is
on
not
come on a
our fault.
trad show.
That's not our fault. Priests are scared to go on. Priests are scared to talk from the pulpit right now.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in
Okay.
all fairness, in all fairness to some, because we say the priests, we've asked like maybe two. They're both bound by obedience. So I know
True.
one of them was he said I would love to come on and talk, because me and Mark heard him give a talk on the. Well, I won't get into detail, but we had him give a talk, right? It was absolutely fantastic.
Oh, it was killer.
For the whole hour, like you didn't daydream, you did nothing. It was great. And he was like, I would love to come on your show and talk about it, but I have to get permission first. Well, he was denied permission. So,
And that
And
might
I
have been
think it
because
had-
of our name.
I think it had to do with your name.
I
It
didn't
really
think
did.
about that.
So
That's a good
look, we
point.
were me and Rob. All right, so we were going to talk about it in the green room tonight. Like, I called Rob yesterday. I was like, we got to really talk to these guys and convince them to change their name. And we were worried we were going to offend you by it. And I just was like, no, I'm saying it. So I threw it in the group chat. I'm like, I don't care. You guys are changing your name. This is it. I've made a decision for you guys. And I didn't realize you guys were already mulling it over beforehand.
Oh,
Like,
we've
you guys-
been mulling it over
for
for
months.
right. So
say
I was worried about
years,
offending
really,
you.
but-
And you're like, no, dude, like, this is literally, we've been trying to figure out a new name. So I think that they should play something with their Southern charm. Like, they're both Texans.
Sometimes it's kind of hard not to, depending on the.
Lone Star Papist.
Question: do I have to be charming? Because that has not historically been. My
Jason's the charming one. You're the smart one. Come on.
You're the angry one
okay,
that yells
we'll go
about
with
quo
that, yeah.
primum.
Jason's the charming, funny one. You are the smart one. And just like I am the jackass
Pinky
of
and
our
the
show,
brain.
Rob is the smart one.
Missy, that is a question we ask ourselves every single episode. What are we doing?
This is funny. So so listen, we're going to get to, all right, we definitely buried the lead with this one, right? We have two main stories, Missy. Stick around. You're going to enjoy the show.
Yeah.
We have two main stories.
Unless
we're
you're a
gonna talk
feminist.
about. What is that?
Unless she's a feminist.
Yeah.
Then
no,
she
she's
definitely
gonna-
won't.
She's gonna. I'm always in like. I always think it's interesting when like our show just pops up in somebody's feed. But so we were throwing some names around. We're gonna get to. I'm sorry. We're gonna get to our two main topics. One of them is there was a group of priests who put an end to a pride event, and it was inspiring. Like Jack, Rob is Opie, and Anthony is Anthony. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, that's actually an accurate assessment. Like,
Yeah.
Opie used to steer the show. He was like he would he would steer the show and give topics and stuff.
Are we gonna get into deep
Jason, I
theology
think
about
you and I are
Opie?
more like Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharp. You know what I mean? You ever watch that show?
I always refer to us as Pinky and the Brain. I'm Pinky, you're the Brain.
All right,
You guys are too kind.
the two topics we're going to do is there are fewer people in the U.S. who find same-sex marriage is morally acceptable. So there's a Pew. You want to do one of them now, Rob? Maybe we'll get
Sure,
into the main
let's do it.
topic. All right, so let's get into the Pew Research thing.
So talking about our show was.
You mean the
boring,
Gallup poll?
No, it's not that. You know what it is?
I'm
We're
joking.
better off
with you.
doing that towards the end. Like when you bury the lead, people tune out. So let's get into a story, and then we'll talk about you guys and the show a little after. So, fewer in the U.S. say same-sex relations morally acceptable. Americans' views about the morality of a number of behaviors and practices are largely stable compared with a year ago. However, significantly fewer say same-sex relations are morally acceptable, and more say the death penalty is. This is a strange trend, right? Like you would think it would be the opposite, but okay. So Americans are most likely to say birth control is morally acceptable, with 88%
Boo.
holding that view. All right, so we're gonna get into all this. This is a great topic. Wait, where did I go?
At least 7 and 10.
All right, at least 7 and 10 say the same about divorce. Sex between unmarried man and woman and having a baby outside of marriage, same-sex relations, and death penalty are in the next group, along with gambling, stem cell research, and wearing animal fur. Between 60 and 69% of Americans approving of those 5 issues with moral perspective. U.S. adults are least likely to condone married men and women having an affair, human cloning, and suicide. Let's just stick with these.
Take that, boomers. Take
So-
that, boomers.
But still, more people are okay with having a bastard than the just use of the death penalty.
Rob, we live in a nation of 480 million psychopaths. These are people who, when
There's
your girlfriend breaks
320
up with
million
you in
people.
high school, the reasonable thing to do is go shoot the school up. Like, of course you would do that. Like, these people are insane.
It's true.
I have no faith in the American electorate anymore. I've never really had faith in very many of our institutions for a while now, but like those numbers don't surprise me at all. I am kind of interested in why and I have to believe it's the transgender stuff that has soured people on.
Mhm.
100%.
First off, I've never really understood why being anything other than straight puts you in a community. I've never, that doesn't make any sense. I mean, I don't feel like straight people are all in some kind of community. Like, speaking as a member of the straight community, I've never even heard of such a thing. But for some reason, if you're anything other than that, you're in some imagined community. That never made any sense to me. But them doing that was the worst thing they ever could have possibly done, because now pedophiles are in your community. Transgender, it's all part of your community now. And now they have no choice. They have to stick up for that.
Well, in
and
some
take
ways,
up for it, because they're all in a community together now. And I just don't know why in the hell they would have ever decided to do that. That's crazy.
Well, some ways it doesn't surprise me in the shift, right? Because at some point people are going to start seeing the results of all this, and they're going to be like, this is insane. And I think the transgender movement is a part of it, but I also think that what we would consider conservative talking heads, conservative politicians are now pushing it down people's throat. And I think people from both sides are just starting to say, okay, the crazy is overtaken all around us. Like we have to push back, because things are just getting worse in people's everyday lives.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, well, all right. So like Mark was saying, like once you put this group together, now you're stuck with these people, right? So you even see within like the LGBs, they like a lot of the LGBs are like, well, maybe we could get rid of the T. Like you can't get rid of the T. You can't. Like there's
No.
they're
married
part
to
of
it now, literally.
And I really do think
Well,
that
not really, but
the T portion is what has soured so many people on this area. right? It's like it's really gone from, but even still, when you look at these numbers, though, these numbers, like, we're like, oh yeah, like the trends are changing, but you're still looking at, okay, so 88% hold the view that birth control is morally acceptable. That is insane. Like, you really got to think about the Catholic Church is the only institution that officially has on its books that birth control is wrong.
You know what's funny, and it's not funny, it's honestly very sad, but the last number I saw about the percentage of Catholics that believe it's morally acceptable is higher than that. It's 90 or 91%.
Oh yeah, nobody follows Humani Vitae.
So then how is it culturally wide 88% if it's higher in Catholics? That means there's people that are non-Catholics that think birth control is morally unacceptable?
Yeah.
There are a few, yeah.
Some
like
evangelicals.
I don't think.
See, I've
is
never
birth control allowed in Islam? I don't know. I don't know enough about that.
Yes, I think it is, but I'm not certain, but I think so.
I don't think they have it as a dogma or
I
a
can
doctrine.
look.
I don't think they have dogmas or doctrines. That's a different whole. They have a whole different set of. Islam's more like a set of juridical. I don't know.
It's all power, right?
Yeah,
There's
it's
no
all about
doctrine.
power.
It's all
and
about power. So
yeah.
Okay, so now 70% are okay with divorce. And okay, so all right, at least 7 in 10 say that divorce is okay, and marriage out of wedlock is okay. Having a baby outside of marriage. So 70% of the country thinks it's morally acceptable to have premarital sex and to have children outside of wedlock.
Yep.
We're like, oh, the trends are changing, but dude, 70%.
And yet a far lower percent of that thinks having an affair is okay, when really it's all the same thing. The reason people don't like the affair part is because they themselves might get hurt. But when it's about having pleasure outside of marriage, they're completely okay with it. So
They don't.
everyone's just so screwed up on this.
If a person is willing to have sex before marriage, that means they don't have a high view of marriage. It's not, and it may not even be their fault, maybe because of lack of catechesis, right? Like they may not, it's not necessarily their fault. They were never taught what marriage is. But if you don't think marriage is the bond where that act is acceptable and you are willing to have it before marriage, then you are going to be infinitely more likely to cheat and have an affair in your marriage. Sure. Because you thought that this thing is fine outside of marriage to begin with.
Did you know that I took some sociology class back in 2003 at Texas A&M, and it was called like the history of the family unit or something like that. And when I had to sign up for this class, I thought it was going to be a flaming left wing, type of lecture because it's college, right? Well, the teacher was actually very pro-family, but she showed a statistic one time that cohabitation before marriage greatly leads, or you have a much higher chance of divorce if you cohabitate before marriage than if you don't.
Do you know that
and it has to be the same for sex, I would assume.
So in those cultures where they have arranged marriages, now these are not, I'm not talking about cultures where they sell a girl off to somebody to be married, but I'm talking about cultures like the Sicilians, for example.
What are you about to say, Mo?
The whole family is involved in. You ever see that scene in The Godfather where Michael and Apollonia are on their first date and the whole family is sort of following them?
Real courtship.
Along? Okay. You can laugh at that. You can call that outdated. You can call it backwards. You can call it whatever. But in those societies, their divorce rate is closer to like 4 to 5%.
Real quick, I just want to address this. No, we do not think the death penalty is unethical. We are very big proponents of the death penalty.
I know Mark has a different opinion.
No, it's not that here's the deal. The catechism has what it says, and I know that that's controversial. I understand that we are allowed to take human life in a morally illicit way under very extreme circumstances. Now, there is certainly an argument to be made that justice in some cases requires something like that. I'm never going to have to carry it out, so it's not something. I think it's something we can disagree on and we can talk about a little bit. But if we could not do it, I would be for that. But I'm also understanding that I don't know everything, and I'm not privy to every situation. And
I have no. All right. So my issue is not whether we should be doing it. My issue is how the church changed it to say it's inadmissible, and the way that it's been changed to say it's inadmissible almost makes it sound like it's morally wrong,
intrinsically evil,
right, and it may not have used that language, but that is definitely the
and it can't be intrinsically evil.
It can't be intrinsically
guys
evil.
To war every day that
they can't ever switch
on the opposite side. It's
and on top of that, it's
Ecclesiastes says there is a time to kill. It's in the book of Ecclesiastes. There's a under the sun there is a time for everything. A time to kill.
The biggest
a time to refrain
argument
from killing. But
the biggest argument against the death penalty, in my opinion, is that we have such unjust rulers that innocent people get killed.
Sure.
Like that is the best argument against
that.
It.
Is my only hesitation in using the death penalty is that aspect. But I do not believe that the death penalty is wrong. I do not believe that is unethical, because what is evil can never be good. What is good can never be evil, right? So I don't necessarily see how it's inadmissible. And with one of the reasons that Pope Francis gave for it being inadmissible, I still kind of have a hard time wrapping my brain around. I know you guys have heard me say this before, but one of the reasons he attributed that it was no longer admissible was because of prisons, that we have a much better prison system today than we used to have. But I think that's a very first world centric viewpoint. Because in the second, third world countries, in a very modern viewpoint. Yeah. So, I mean,
it's also funny because he's argued against life in prison because of how terrible prisons are.
Yeah, you got that.
You look back 100 years ago, 1920, 1910, like you still have the Wild West. People would literally get hanged for stealing. Like that's how easily we gave the death penalty back then. Like they would, the local sheriff would be like, "Hang that man!"
Capital offense out here. Up until very recently, horse stealing horses was a hanging offense down.
It was a hanging offense. You know what I mean? It's like we have just changed our views so much, and it's like you really think as modern man. Look, all right. I just think, especially in today's rulers, today's rulers do not have, because of the separation of church and state, the separation of will and intellect, and the separation of grace from nature. Like grace perfects nature. We have people that are so devoid of God's grace at this point that, like, I mean, look at what's going on in our Justice Department, right? Yeah. Like, really look at what's happening in our Justice Department. We just had Hunter Biden dropping drugs at the White House, and they're like, we're just going to drop the case, guys. Like, we have such an out of whack justice system right now that to me is the best argument against allowing the death penalty, because I think if it was up to these people that are in charge, they'd hang all of us.
Oh, indeed. And I do recognize the complexity of that issue, just because we're dealing with human life, and anything having to deal with human life, we've got to take a pause, take a beat, really think about it, consider what's at stake here. And that goes along with being pro-life. We're not just pro-birth. You know, I know that gets leveled at us a lot, and I think that that's a really unfair accusation, especially when, you know, those people who I know who have been active in the pro-life movement have been some of the biggest vocal opponents of the death penalty in a lot of cases, and have done more for babies than, you know, than anything Planned Parenthood has ever done what has Planned Parenthood ever done for anybody? Like what name me a person, if you can show me one or maybe even two people, just one person, actually, one person who was in a destitute situation, chose to keep their baby, and Planned Parenthood helped me out with my decision.
I think they donated some money to Adolf Hitler once.
Yeah, but you never find that person. They never, so I just...
Well, I do want to say, you had a comment up here, Rob, that talked about Tim Gordon's where he debated Trent Horn on the death penalty.
Wait. Let me just tell our new viewer. Okay, so the two guys on the right, top and bottom, they're from Texas.
Houston.
Guys on the left, right? We're looking at it right.
Yeah.
So I'm from New York. Rob below me is from Minnesota. The two guys to that side are from Texas.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, guys.
No, but what I was just saying is, on that debate that he had with Trent Horn, I remember one thing that he said in there that was very good. You know, one of the arguments against the death penalty is, well, then this person is able to live their life and have a chance at reconciliation with God, or is able to repent of their wicked deeds. But he showed a statistic, or he read off a statistic that said that people on death row are far more likely to have an act of contrition, even if imperfect, than if they spend the rest of their life in prison. So there is even that good from the death penalty.
Yeah, listen, when you're faced imminent death, like you are forced to, your conscience is forced to consider, wow, I'm going to meet my maker. Like that's one of the main reasons for the death penalty. It's like it forces you to say, I'm going to meet my maker. I need to repent. Where I'm telling you, especially the modern prison system, people that get life in prison, a lot of times they join gangs in prison. They wind up living a totally ruthless life in prison, and then they die accidentally. And like people don't have the modern view doesn't put the soul in thought when we're going through these things. We're just like, mercy, mercy, mercy. Oh, we have to show mercy. That's not actual mercy if a person's going to end up in hell for eternity. Yeah. Like you really have to think about that people are face imminent death are forced to face their maker and say, and they're given the chance to repent and see a priest and go to confession. Now, if you're in life in prison, bro, go look at any prison shows, like on documentaries on prison. Well, people get in there, they deal drugs, they get,
I'll put it like this. I've been involved with the prison ministry several times where we actually go into the prison itself, right? We're not like at a out wing of the prison. Like we walk through the prison, past the cells, and all, through their kitchen, showers, bathrooms, all that stuff. And I've seen maybe 1% of prison life, and even that 1%, you can tell this is not a good place to be or spend the rest of your life spiritually, mentally, of course, physically as well. But
that's true. Well, says the death penalty is more dignified than life in prison. I think so.
Life in the Fed and at ADX Supermax, they call that a clean version of hell. Those guys are walking ghosts in there.
Yeah. There was a comment I starred, Rob, because I think it's a good launch off to that next article.
You can star comments now.
Yeah. Oh, here it is. Okay. So the individual should not be allowed to terrorize a morally centered society. This is the seed of why the rainbow can now force their agenda on every corner of society. So it's a good launching point because our next story has to do with a group of priests who get together and they put an end to a pride event. Now, the thing is, these are Orthodox priests, but it just shows you that a clergy, and it's in Georgia.
The nation, not the state.
Yeah.
Yes, the nation, of course. So it just goes to show you that. But look at this. Look at the people, how passionate they are about their faith and morality, because they're not in the West. The West has been so conditioned by Marxism to just totally let our entire moral foundation crumble. And that is what's happening at the synod right now. Like you're seeing the effects of 100 years of moral corruption seep its way into the church, and now the church is trying to have the same revolution that happened in our culture and society at large.
These guys even got alcohol out of the deal. They looted the event's bar.
Right. Well, the thing is that I don't know if they mentioned it in this story. I saw another story where the previous year, like the event started off because in the previous year there was a man who on the right set himself on fire in protest because he said he didn't want to live in a morally corrupt society where sin is celebrated. It's like, do we have anybody who would talk like that in our culture? It's so wild. So the Pride event, the Pride Week event I'm not going to even try to pronounce that, was called off and attendees were busted. Tbilisi was called off and attendees were bused to safety. The organizers have accused authorities of being complicit in the face of far-right violence and threats. It's always
you'd think someone asked you to pronounce gyro or something, Anthony. Jeez.
Gyro.
I'm sure they eat gyros in Tbilisi.
It's gyro.
Here's when I saw this though, you know what I thought eventually, and I see this in the Orthodox world all the time. These priests are so based, but it's like one of the benefits of having a national church is that these priests, they've got clout there because they represent it's part of their national ethnic identity to be Orthodox. And so these priests are not just priests, somebody from a church. It's just somebody from the national church coming out. And
But
yeah, we're looking at in the West, we see the separation of church and state.
Well,
Where, like, I don't think you should have a national church like the Church of England, because it could go just as bad with the national
that's true
church when you
too,
look at
but-
the Anglican church.
I think the way we've grown up is rather ahistorical. I mean, prior to the Great Migration in the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, you'd have all the big cities. You'd have neighborhoods of Italians with their Italian parishes. You'd have German neighborhoods with their German parish, Polish with their Polish priest. I mean, it wasn't national in the sense of being a separate, ecclesial body or anything, but you had real communities with real leaders, and you could organize stuff like that. And now we don't have that because America is an anti-culture and has destroyed all of our, cultures that we're from.
Yeah, I'll tell you, man. Like Joshua Charles has really made me see properly understand church and state. It's like the proper understanding of church and state and like the reign of Christ the King is like every leader, like when you have every leader as a baptized Catholic, it's like the church and secular is not really separate the way people think. Like it's supposed to be the church is the spiritual arm, and the state is still part of the church, but it handles
they deal with separate competencies, right?
Yeah,
but it's all part of living in the world together.
It's kind of like a sheriff's deputy versus a constable.
I'm trying
Sure.
to think if that analogy holds up.
Does that work?
I don't think that analogy holds up. It's more like this. Like Joe Biden is a baptized Catholic, right?
Yeah.
He's supposed to be running his office in service to Christ the King.
Yes.
And the Pope. Except the problem is,
yeah, we already know what that problem is.
you know what I mean?
Well, did you know that in the Constitution, it was never, the idea of total separation of church and state was never built into the First Amendment at all. The First Amendment states that Congress shall make no law respecting establishment.
Yeah, we're never supposed to have a national church.
And the idea behind that is because the individual states will do that.
9 of the 13 original
Connecticut
colonies
will be,
had
run
state
by the
churches.
Puritans. Maryland will be the official church of Maryland, of the Maryland colony is the Catholic Church, and the official church of the Massachusetts Bay Colony is the Puritan Church. And that was never their idea of we'll just eradicate religion from public life. They were saying that the national Congress won't pick a national church because the 13 individual states are going to do that. That was the intention behind the First Amendment.
Yeah, definitely subsidiarity. So they never wanted the Anglican Church with the king ruling over it.
Right.
They wanted subsidiarity. You guys build a community. You can have your church, because a church, it was almost like they expected everyone to go to church. They never expected there to be this atheist thing. They expected every community that got built had a church that it was a part of, and your whole community was built around that church. Like if you really look at the structure of older villages and towns, it was always the church was at the center, and then that would be the highest peak too. So you'd have the steeple of the church would be the highest point in the town, and then things would get built around it. And the further outside of town you go, the further you get away from the community.
Yeah.
And it was supposed to be centered that way. And it's like you really see, like E. Michael Jones's book Barren Metal goes into this a lot. Even like how they broke up the Catholic ghettos by putting these tenement buildings in and things like that. It's just crazy how they engineered societal engineering to break up communities and families because they knew we would be easier to control.
Do y'all think that, let's just say in the past 50, 60 years, that the unorthodoxy of many of the Catholic Church's local leaders have led to this breakup of community as well? Because you see a lot of people that don't go to the church near them, right? They go to church. They may drive by 2 or 3 churches before they go, which would kind of break up.
No, most communities were destroyed before that, Jason. Okay. They were destroyed during the Great Migration for the most part.
I just didn't know if you thought that might have a part in it, because like I said, because I can look at our lives today, just people in general here in the U.S. and how many times people don't really attend the church that's in their
Well, I'll tell you why
neighborhood,
that. I'll tell you what I think. Especially in Catholic circles, let me tell you what happened there. Once the Novus Ordo got introduced, it allowed for a lot of variation in the liturgy, which allowed for a progressive parish and a conservative parish. So people will go church shopping at that point.
Yeah.
Where before, when you had the Roman Rite, the actual Roman Rite with the traditional Latin Mass, it was like it didn't matter what church you went to, you were going to see a Catholic Mass, and there was control over what every priest was allowed to say in his homily. So you didn't need to travel. Like, I drive an hour to go to Mass to find a traditional Latin Mass, and if I don't go to that, even when I was going to the Novus Ordo, I still drove 30 minutes because the 4 parishes right next to my house are liberal cesspools.
And you know, maybe I'm wrong in this, and you guys tell me, but yeah, the whole church shopping is a very Protestant notion, because I say that because, you know, especially your low church Protestant churches, they or your low liturgy Protestant churches, they will break up over the slightest thing, right? And people will shop. Well, I like this preacher better than this preacher. I like this group of people better than I do this people. So it almost seems like that's a very Protestant mindset that has also, unfortunately, maybe out of necessity, entered the Catholic realm. I know that me and Mark are very lucky where we live, because it takes me 25 minutes to go to the Latin Mass. It takes me 25 minutes to go to, say, an ordinary. It takes me 25 minutes to go to the Byzantine Catholic Church. And I've got a Catholic church, you know, if I wanted to go there, 5 minutes from my house. So where we live, it is very, very diverse. And I don't think we have to drive an hour to go anywhere, really.
How do you guys like the ordinariate?
Oh, it's beautiful. It's amazing.
I like it.
It's incredible. And
is it like a regular Novus Ordo liturgy, but reverent, or is it totally different?
It is the Roman Rite translated into High Middle English. It's almost identical to. It's basically the use of serum. If you're familiar with the use of serum, which
there
was
is some of that. Yeah,
it is a use of the Roman Rite that was popular in England before the Council of Trent, and it is the liturgy as it existed at the time Henry VIII broke, that they were using in England at that time. It's got some elements of the Byzantine liturgy in it, like the Great Litany, but the introit is sung in Latin and Gregorian chant. The Kyrie is sung in Latin and Gregorian chant. The Credo, the Gloria, it's ad orientem, and it's an incredibly beautiful liturgy, in my opinion.
I don't even think there is one anywhere near me. I would love to go check one out.
Go
ahead.
No, I was gonna say, I can see how some people, because there are aspects that will remind you of the Novus Ordo, which I can see how people kind of get that picture of it. But no, to me, when I go there, there's, you know, I know at least here they don't have female altar servers. You receive
communion is on the tongue.
Communion rail.
Yeah.
It's just there's just a lot more reverence for God.
Yeah, I mean, if
what is taking place,
if you're a rubric Nazi about everything that goes on in traditional Latin Mass, you're going to go there and you're going to be, oh, that's not like this and that's not like this. But I'm not really one of those people anyway, so that doesn't.
And at the cathedral here in Houston at Our Lady of Walsingham, I forgot what Father Huff said that they called it, but it reminds me of an iconostasis.
It's called the rood screen.
The rood screen.
The rood screen. Yes,
it's just beautiful.
So I talked to Father Von Treco at the Cancel Priest Conference, and he came in through the ordinariate, and he gave a sermon about Vatican II that got him excommunicated. And he never denied a single
Flores.
What was that?
By the bishop, the archbishop of the ordinariate.
It was the ordinariate bishop who actually excommunicated him. So when I spoke to him at the conference, I asked him what happened?
Where's he
Mark
from?
said, what did he say? And
you should go listen to that sermon. It's pretty good.
His homily's not, I mean, it's not nuts. It's not.
Where is he from?
It's totally reasonable.
Well, so his parish was up in Minneapolis, up here in Minnesota. But so he gave a sermon, like Anthony said. He got called in a few times, asked if he denied certain things, and of course he said, no, I deny none of these. They excommunicated him and closed down his parish in Minneapolis.
There's got to be more to the story than that. I don't know.
Mark, he basically said everything Benedict said about the spirit of Vatican II.
Mm-hmm.
Like he basically just talked about the spirit of Vatican II and the spirit of the council. Like, I mean, there's really nothing crazy about what he said. I don't understand. I mean, I get why they would be upset with it, but excommunication, I could see like maybe removing.
I'm not sure that's canonically an excommunicable offense. I mean, I don't know. I'm
And
not a canon lawyer.
The
but
canon lawyers are fighting it. They're pretty
They're
sure
fighting
that it's
it, yeah.
not a real excommunication.
So
and I do know there are different ordinariate, like I don't know if you call them group, but you got the ordinariate here in the U.S. You got the ordinariate.
There's two.
in I think Canada. You got the one in Australia, New Zealand, but you have one in England as well.
Yeah.
I thought there was 3 of them.
But I will say this, and this is kind of a new development for me. I used to say, you know, I'll go to the Novus Ordo Missae. I don't have a problem with its validity or anything like that. I don't go to the Novus Ordo Missae anymore, and I don't care if it's my only option. But here's the deal. Before you say, you can't say the Novus Ordo Missae is invalid, I'm not saying it. They said it. They said it. I can't even believe it's invalid when they tell me it's invalid. Every time you open up the newspaper, these baptisms haven't been valid for 20 years. These things haven't been valid for 30 years. Now I guess we know why they've been up our butts about questioning its validity, because they knew it was invalid the whole freaking time.
So
no, I just don't trust it. I'm sorry.
What Father Von Traco said to me, even about the ordinariate, was he said it's a beautiful liturgy, but it's not an apostolic liturgy. It's just not an apostolic liturgy. He said, no, it's just not. It's not the liturgy.
What does that mean? What do you mean by that?
So you have to realize when St. Paul says, hold fast to the traditions which have been given to you, whether by word of mouth or by written epistle. The word of mouth traditions that Paul goes and sets up as he's going around, and all of the apostles go around, they set up liturgy. It is literally the way the church is formed, is by the ritual they perform. So all of these, you have all the different rites in the church, even in the East and the West, these are valid rites set up by the apostles, and they develop over time. But what happens with the ordinary, with not just the ordinary, but what happens at the time of King Henry, where you're saying like this is a 500-year tradition that they've been practicing. It's not a 2,000-year tradition that they're practicing.
No. Maybe I misunderstood. This is not the liturgy that was in use by the. Okay, so when Henry was still a Catholic, this is that liturgy.
I understand that.
Then
it was still not an apostolic. I'm just going by what Father Von Traco said to me, because I was like, he came in through the ordinariate, so I assumed that he was still saying.
Well, it couldn't have been apostolic. There weren't any Christians in England until the 1000s. I mean,
but that doesn't matter, because the actual rite itself, wherever it starts, it's then, it grows and expands. It doesn't need to be. You didn't need an apostle to set up in England to set up that rite. Like the Roman rite is set up in different, in the West in different areas, but
right.
it really gets uniform with Pope Gregory the Great, where he says, no, I want everything in the vernacular, which was Latin, the Latin at the time.
Mm-hmm.
He wanted everything in Latin, so everything was uniform and stuff. So it develops over that time. But when you get to the Anglican rite, or the ordinariate's rite, that starts 500-600 years ago. It starts before Henry leaves Catholicism, but it's still.
I think it's older than that.
Well,
the use of serum.
Well,
the
serum.
But I mean,
the serum rite goes back to the 1000s. I know.
But see, the thing is, and that's the problem. And up until one of the amazing thing about Quo Primum is it did something in the West that had not been done before. There was no codified, this is the Roman rite. There were uses of the Roman rite, and they were different depending on where you lived. And
what we know as the Roman rite now was the
what the Curia was using.
Right, was the curial mass, basically.
And Pius V is the one who said, okay, all these other uses out there are gone unless they can date themselves to 200 years older than that. and like the what's that, the one in the Ambrosian rite, and then there's some like the Dominican.
There's the
rite, like that,
Gallican.
yeah, I think I listen. I'm not an expert on the ordinariate liturgy, and that's one of the things I wish we could have gotten Father Huff on our show, because he is an expert on it, and he could have talked about that better. But I can't speak to its apostolicity or lack thereof, but I can tell you it's a beautiful liturgy if you ever get to go. It's really,
it's the ordinary is not the Sarum
might not
rite.
be what you say it is, but it might.
Like,
I don't
no,
know.
it's
Mark. I'm not trying to knock it. I'm only
Oh no,
telling
I'm
you
not. I'm not taking.
I'm not trying. I'm just
no,
telling
the
you what Father Von
ordinary
Draco-
liturgy.
Jason.
Sorry.
I'm literally what Father Von Draco said was that, like, Cranmer himself, there's a lot of Cranmer's prayers in there and stuff, and he's like, look, it's just not apostolic. So he has been excommunicated. He now says the traditional Latin mass. So, which I thought was strange, because he came in through the ordinariate, and I assumed he was still saying that. Go ahead, Jack.
Yeah.
No, I was just gonna say, and I don't think we were saying that the ordinariate. If we did, then we misspoke. That the ordinariate liturgy is the Sarum rite. I mean, that's not what we meant.
There's elements in it.
There's elements taken from it, because the Sarum rite was, from my understanding, pretty identical to the traditional Latin mass, right?
Nicholas is so funny.
So if we said that the ordinary liturgy is the Sarum rite, then we misspoke. We just meant that.
No, I don't think
some aspects brought over to it.
Yeah, I heard you say aspects of it. There were aspects of it in there. Like, and look, I'm sure it's a beautiful liturgy. I've never been to one. I'm only relaying what this priest had told me when we were at the conference. So
Yeah.
But you guys want to get back into that article a little bit and just
Sure.
and just see. Okay, so let's see what happens here. So
Sorry, but we went off the rails.
Yeah, but that's perfect for this show, isn't it?
He said it. He said the name of the show. Okay.
So the organizers behind Georgia's Pride event were forced to cancel an event after thousands of far-right demonstrators. I love how they frame this, far-right demonstrators. The open-air event.
That's just like 90% of Georgians.
Yeah, it's so weird how they try to frame it as like Western terminology. It's like the protesters managed to find ways to enter the area of the event, but we were able to evacuate the participants and organizers. Deputy Interior, blah blah blah, whatever it says. Okay, attendees of the event were bussed away before the far right. Every time the far right demonstrators arrived, the venue has been evacuated and nobody hurt. So the Tbilisi Pride organizers said far-right groups. What is it?
Tbilisi.
Listen, I don't know what to tell you guys. You get what you get with me.
You
Publicly incited violence against these activists. They accused authorities of being complicit amid these threats. They also claimed that police did not adequately block the access road to the festival site. Okay, so
just to recap, the police did not adequately block the people who were there to cause violence. The group that was there to incite violence, and no one was hurt. Okay, gotcha. Just to recap the three main points there.
Yeah, this whole event is a Soros funded event. Like, you don't get these events spontaneously coming up in a place like Georgia. Like, you just don't. So when we talked to Joshua Charles, he just went to Ukraine to give a talk like 2 weeks ago, and I was like, what was like striking to you when you went there that you thought? He goes, I didn't see a single pride flag, not one, when I went to Ukraine. He goes, they try to make it like Ukraine's this Western country in the media, like they try to make it like they're like a Western democracy. He goes, it's not in any way. He goes, the only pride flag I saw was on the Canadian embassy, and people were disgusted by it. So it's like, even this, they're trying to frame it like these people just want liberation, and they're so no. This is an event that was funded by a group, and they're trying to cause unrest and civil upheaval in Georgia, just like they have in America.
Yeah, but it's not. I mean, one of the reasons why I think the rest of the world's looking at America hard and being like, no thanks, man, not even a little bit.
You have the BRICS system taking off: Brazil, Russia, India, China,
South Africa.
What is South Africa? Is that what you said? Yeah.
So it's like, listen, you even see Putin framing this whole Ukraine-Russia thing as a holy war, dude. Like, he's literally like, they want to come and castrate your children. We have to fight this off. Like, this is what they're trying. And he's right when it comes to that aspect. It's like, Like, why would you want what's happening in America to happen in any other country? If you're in another country and you see what's happening here, the civil unrest, the division between everybody, the perversion in our culture, why would you ever want to emulate what we have? If this is what freedom brings,
yeah, thanks, but no thanks. Yeah, but it's one of the things. It's one of the things that led to that actually leads to the rise of the far right. And it did in Germany, was the decadence of the 1920s.
Okay,
the decadence of the 1920s and the absolute poverty stricken over in Germany was one of the things that made people go, yeah,
I would say the
democracy
Nazis
sucks.
really were far left, but
so Missy's a new listener, and she's coming up with a podcast name. So I have to get going soon, but I think we should spend the last few minutes coming up with some podcast names for you guys. So my original idea was I liked Southern Sons of Mary. What were some of the good ones?
Sounds like a neo-Confederate group. And I'm also not from the South. I'm from Texas. That's different.
You're from East. You're from East Texas, which culturally identifies with the South.
I like Texas Papists, but then Mark said, "He's like, yeah, I don't know. Like,
I
don't know how much of a
theology.
papist I am these days."
I like. How about the Bible Belt Brawlers?
Yeah, that could. Yeah, that's interesting.
Because you might get a lot of Protestants to come in and look at your stuff. Then
That's actually true.
Yeah, I don't know how enthused I am about how.
Lone Stars of the Sea.
I
like
like
that.
that. Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Lone Stars of the Sea, because I love Stella Maris.
Mm-hmm.
Saints and Shenanigans. That's a good name. You guys
Fava,
are good.
what's that bar you like to go to?
Shenanigans.
I'm gonna pistol whip the next guy who says Shenanigans.
Missy,
Right.
you got some good names.
Missy, that was good. That was good. Also, well, there's all the elements are there in Texas two-step. There's two of us, but see, that's the thing is I don't know how to do this stuff. Just the podcast formerly known as Trad Men is what we're going to be. I know that.
Just come up with the crazy symbol.
Southern Synod of synodality.
Yeah.
I mean, they're gonna.
This would trigger so
That'll
many
bring the
Protestants.
prots in for sure.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
Oh my goodness.
Dude, that's actually, you should do that. Exit biblical Christianity and just talk Catholicism the whole time.
The show is called Two Protestant Guys.
Dude, people got some good names, man. Trad Italians.
Pistol whipped Shenanigans. Margot, that's pretty. I sometimes I do want to pistol whip my co-host.
You should be avoiding Babylon.
Avoiding Babylon. We were gonna think it. What's Lofton's show? Reason and Theology. We're gonna call it Theology and Reason. Wasn't that one of your ideas, Jason?
Call it Charity
No,
and
that was
Nuance.
No, if you're gonna go you're gonna play on love, you gotta call it unreasonable theology.
Unreasonable theology. We should read while we're trad men for the next few weeks or however long this takes. We should edit the intro to just be Lofton, just talking over and over again, and then just the trad logo just comes over him. You know, that'll be like
honestly, I don't want to say anything about the guy. I don't want any. You
don't want none of that smoke.
No, I don't at all. And I honestly, since we took our video down that I said about, that I made about him, I took it down, and I've even seen he's changed some tactics a little bit. Like he's not going the clickbait route. So I actually have a little respect for that. He's still sharing his position, which I think is a valid position. Okay. I really do. Like, I think if he thinks like, I think there are people who are just struggling right now to make sense of what's going on. And they're like, I want to be a loyal papist. I mean, that's a Catholic tradition to be a loyal papist. I think that's a valid position right now. People are confused, and I don't want to judge anybody for coming to a different conclusion than me. I didn't like the clickbait stuff. I didn't like him attacking other shows, so I'm not going to become what I don't like.
That's fair. I just got to say one thing, Rob. You have got the butteriest voice. When Rob chimes in, you just know things are about to get serious.
And you're going to make people go to confession again.
Yes, I see where this is going.
You're the one doing it, man. I'm just commenting on it.
This is actually funny. Treason and apology.
So here's Anthony. I don't want to start anything. I want to keep the peace. I want to do this.
But here, look at this funny comment.
Funny is funny though.
Yeah, you got to be able to take a joke in this business.
Honestly, if you can't laugh at yourself, you don't belong in this realm.
I do not sound like Joe Heschmeyer Number one, I don't know who that is, and
I
I've
don't know
never
who that
listened to
is.
him, but I don't sound like him.
No, you sound like a late night radio talk show host.
Luckily, nobody sounds like me.
You know what's funny?
We actually
when
created
Michael
one.
Savage kind of does. You kind of have that Michael Savage accent.
when I look at the analytics on our channel to see what people search for, what our viewers search for, Asmer is always at the top of the list, you guys.
Really?
Yeah.
What
Well,
is,
some
wait, Jason, have
creative
you ever
one.
looked at that stuff for us? I don't even know what.
Yes,
what,
I created a video with Asmir. With you.
What people search for when they.
I have no idea how to do that.
I don't know how to do that either.
Pints with Aquinas turns into leaders with the.
But I gotta say, some of you who have been on here have been praying louds with me every morning. That's going to pick back up as soon as I get back into my new space. I know that has ceased as of now. I actually had to take my computer out and plug it back in to do this show. And as soon as this show's actually, no, we're going to go live tomorrow, me and Jason, right? Jason, we're going to go
Tomorrow
live tomorrow.
night. Yeah, tomorrow
All
night.
right. So
yeah.
as soon as that show is over, I'm packing it back up, and then I'll probably be in incommunicado until I get to my new spot. So
Yeah, Rob, did you say Asmer?
I'm not saying ASMR. I don't care. It's Asmer.
It's ASMR.
it's ASMR, man. What do you?
You know
You
what?
realize now you're
know
the
what?
new Anthony. Yeah, like all the Euro stuff is
He
gone.
kicked himself out of his own show. I've never seen him do that. I've never seen him boot himself from the stream. It's always me that gets the boot. Oh. All right, man. We do have to wrap this one up, man. I have to go. But instead of pints with Aquinas, it could be shots with Bellarmine or
pints and prosciutto.
Shots with Bellarmine. Yeah, I love it.
But all right, so listen, I'm gonna encourage everybody to go over. It is still called Tradman at the moment. My favorite show they interviewed Sean Patrick Flannery after what was the movie? Nefarious came out. Jason actually personally knows Sean. But they don't talk about the movie so much. They talk about other stuff, and especially like mixed martial arts and things like that, and a lot of good life lessons in that episode. So if you guys have never heard Mark and Jason, go over to the Tradman podcast, start with that episode. It was my favorite show they ever did. It was a great interview, very engaging, and then look through some of their other titles. Check it out. If you guys can, please go subscribe to their channel. These are some of our favorite people. We are, I mean, I have one group chat that I am a part of, and this is the group chat, the four of us. So these guys are like genuine friends, and when I have a hard day or I have something bad happen, these are the guys I go to. So
We're the people he complains to.
God bless you, everybody. Thanks for joining us. This was fun.
Every one of us, when we have like a major life issue, we'll jump in the green room and just talk to each other.
Let her rip. Yeah.
We will do trivia soon, everybody.
You've been saying that for
Anthony's
months.
got to get some sleep. He's gonna.
I swear, if I wasn't this tired, I would stay on all night with you guys. I love talking to you guys, and
go get some sleep, man. Rob,
I'm
take
just
us out,
so
buddy.
exhausted. And so Friday night, we're gonna do a local show. So guys, please go over to our locals. And
Wait, what time are you doing it?
We're gonna go late, 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Central.
Dang.
Well, yeah, whenever basically my family's asleep so that I don't anger them.
Okay. Well, because I just didn't know if we were going to conflict. So
We'll go after you. So Tuesday we have Jay Dyer, and Thursday we have
that's right.
Father Isaac. Huh?
I said that's right. We have Jay Dyer on Tuesday.
Tuesday Jay Dyer, Thursday Father Isaac. We have a crazy week.
obviously, I don't agree with Jay Dyer on things, but overall I think Jay Dyer is a pretty cool guy. Like, he knows his stuff, and I've learned things from him, even though he's Orthodox. I've learned quite a bit listening to him.
First off, he's very original. You never see him talk about anything other YouTubers do, right? Like, he's very original. He's very funny. He's I'm excited to talk to him, man. Like, I know a lot of Catholics don't like him, but he is an ortho bro, and we're gonna tease him a little bit about that. We're not gonna have a debate. I want to talk to him and have a conversation with him. I think he's an interesting guy, and I think he's funny. So I want to talk. I'll talk to anybody I find interesting. So Tuesday with Jay Dyer, Thursday with Father Isaac, and then we have Gavin Ashenden booked for July 29th.
I just don't know how we're going to top the KGB story. That's what I'm worried about.
Probably not. We'll have to find something though. Like I'll skim his channel. And like he's done a couple of videos that I really enjoyed recently. So maybe I'll swing back and maybe touch on some of those topics because he's very good, man. Like he's one of those guys where you just give him something and he runs with it. It's like he took us on it was like an action movie. If you guys never watched our Gavin Ashenden video, please go and check
It
that
might be
interview
one of my
out.
favorites. It really might. Making out with the
think so,
KGB agent.
Interview wise, yeah, man. Like,
Look
that
at
was an
Mark's
amazing
face.
interview.
Okay, I'm interested. I'm intrigued.
Dude, he was smuggling Bibles into Russia, and he got
The
stopped by the
Soviet Union.
KGB. Listen to me, it's the craziest part of that episode. He's like, my keys fall into my jacket pocket. Like, so he has a jacket pocket, and the keys like slip through a hole in the pocket and go to the bottom of the jacket. So they detect metal on him, and they're checking with metal, and the guy finds his keys, but he's also got like Bibles hidden on him.
Mm-hmm.
So when the KGB agent finds his keys, he pretends he's gay. He goes, "Oh, you wonderful man," and he does like a gay impression on the show. It's like he gets out of it because he embarrasses the soldiers so much.
Kisses this KGB agent, and all the other KGB agents standing around with their machine guns just start laughing at him.
I love a good espionage honeypot story.
Dude, it was we were riveted through the entire interview. So if you guys have never seen our Gavin Ashenden interview, go back, check it out. I promise you, he's never told the story anywhere but our show.
Okay.
Have you? I'm sure I'm gonna say this wrong, but have y'all heard the story about that Orthodox priest going to the Hagia Sophia? Is that how you say it? Hagia Sophia?
Hagia Sophia.
Yeah.
Hagia Sophia. Have y'all heard that story? It happened in like 1910, something like that, where he snuck in, gave liturgy. The Muslims around him were getting very irritated and very mad. He went in, gave a divine liturgy, and left before anything happened. But it was like the first time that had been done in hundreds of years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Chad. Absolute Chad.
A lot of cool stories. It's like you hear these things and it's wild. So yeah, we do have to get Nicholas back on. Nick Cavazos, man. I have never gotten so many comments saying this kid's amazing. You guys need to make him a regular on the show. So Nick, everybody loved you when you were on that episode. That episode. One of our biggest viewed episodes.
Yeah. It's the banjo.
It was the banjo. We got a $100 super chat.
I still can't believe
$100 super chat to get Nick to play the banjo that episode. Nick, you're welcome on any time, bro.
I need to send him part of that $100, by the way.
Yeah, I'll buy him lunch one day. We'll get him there. We're gonna
buy him lunch one day.
Yeah, we're gonna get him to Pennsylvania. Oh, we gotta talk. We gotta talk in the green room. So, yeah. Oh, check out Nick and Angela on
The Ascent.
Meaning of Catholic. So they haven't done an episode in a couple of weeks. I think the last one they did was the Seamless Garment episode. So if you guys can, check out Nick and Angela on The Ascent, and we will speak to you guys tomorrow night. Please join us. Rob, take us out.
Unite the clans. Enoch. Let's go. Yo. Take me back to my reversion. Unite the clans. I give thanks to each person. It's that same holy water that we immerse in.